All right, call to order, Bedford Township Planning Commission regular meeting, October 28, 2020. And if we could also stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Bill, could you call the roll, please?
Brad Helm.
Here.
Dennis Jenkins.
Here.
Pat Mahoney.
Here.
Ron Fritz.
We're still waiting for him.
Hello.
Nancy Tinneberry.
Here.
Matt Anger.
Here.
Joe Garvig's here. And did I call Pat Mahoney?
Yeah.
Yep.
He said Ron Fritz is up.
And Ron?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Next, we move on to the approval of the agenda. Unless there's anything that needs to be added, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
None. Next, we move. Okay. Next, we move on to the approval of the minutes of the September 9th, 2020 meeting. I'll entertain a motion this time for anybody that was here for that meeting.
Yeah. This is Glass City Signs.
Okay, we're almost to you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
I move to approve the minutes of September 9th.
Support. Second.
I heard Ron support. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? None. Next, we move on to public comment. This is for anybody that would like to. Are we doing this as well, Karen, still like normal?
As long as they have something other than the public hearing to speak on,
Okay.
we can. I don't know how we're going to be able to determine what they're speaking on, but we have to have it. If we hear them, we will have another one at the end of the meeting.
Okay. So we'll do a public comment. This is for anybody that would like to speak on anything not related to item C, which is the language change for zoning. So if there's anybody that would like to speak on something else. Okay. Hi, this is the Planning Commission. Are you here for the item C on our agenda, the proposed language for the ordinance?
Hello.
Hello, this is the Planning Commission. Are you here for item C on the agenda for the language to the...
For 7A?
7C.
7C.
No. I'm here for the signs.
Okay.
Okay, we're just trying to get through our public comment part, so we'll get to you as soon as we get to 7A then.
Oh, no problem.
George, is there someone else then? Welcome to the Planning Commission. Are you here to discuss what's going on item 7C today, the rezoning language?
No, I'm here to discuss item 7A.
Oh, 7A as well? Okay, right now we're working on public comment, so we will get to you shortly.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Planning Commission. Are you here to discuss item 7C, the proposed language for the ordinance?
No,
Yes,
I am here to discuss 7A.
7A is, okay. We will get to you as soon as our public comments.
7A as well.
Thank you.
Can I suggest we just go to 7A and then if a public comment comes in there, instead of trying to filter through all of them, that we just listen to the public comment? because it sounds like they're all for 7A. That's what we need to go to.
It might be easier than trying to,
That's what I mean, filter through all of them.
yeah, this is our first time we've had to try it this way, so thank you, Nancy, for that. So we will move on to new business right now, which is item 7A, a request for a sign waiver for Resurrection Polish National Catholic Church on parcel number 5802-021-00300, otherwise known as 1835 West Temperance Road, Temperance, Michigan. And then if any public comment comes in between, we'll address it at that time. We have or Karen, can you give us some rundown?
Yes, again, this is for Resurrection Polish National Catholic Church on Temperance Road. The sign company is Radiant Signs out of Detroit, Michigan. The applicant is seeking to replace the existing monument location and put in a monument sign to include an LED message board. The ordinance permits one monument sign of up to 32 square feet in area and 5 feet high to serve as identification in R2B residential zoning district for lots that contain other than dwelling units. The applicant is seeking to install a 36 square foot by 5.5 foot tall monument sign to include an LED message board. Therefore, the proposed sign requires a 4 square foot area waiver and a half a foot height waiver. For section 400.1902, there should be no flashing, moving, oscillating, or intermittent type of illumination sign or display shall be permitted in any zoning district. Therefore, the planning commission shall determine how long the message can change so not to create a safety issue by distracting passing traffic. Thus requiring a waiver to allow a message board, and the applicant has indicated the proposed sign will be installed where the existing sign is located. Should the request be considered, the following waivers are required: a half foot height waiver, a 4 foot area waiver, and approval to allow an LED message board. You may also want to consider all required permits in Bedford Township, and the applicant shall continue to maintain the entire perimeter landscaped area of the base, no less than 2 feet wide, growing and in healthy condition.
Thank you, Karen. Do we have a representative for Resurrection Polish National Catholic Church?
Yes.
I'm here. This is Tom Kowalski.
Hi, could you
Go
just
ahead.
state your name and address for the record?
Tom Kowalski, 10550 Summerfield Road, Temperance, Michigan. I'm a member of Resurrection Parish.
Thank you very much. Is there anything you'd like to add to Karen's summary?
I would like to add that we see the sign as critical to our mission to continue to draw new members to our parish and also to inform the community about our work within the community. If you look at today's edition of the Bedford Press, there's 3 articles about Resurrection Polish National Catholic Church regarding our charitable work. We fundraise for the Lord's Pantry, a charity of the Monroe County Opportunity Program. We collect food for St. Paul's Food Pantry on Lewis Avenue, and we also raise money for New Beginnings Mercy House, which is a pregnancy resource program in Ida, Michigan. So we are very involved in the community trying to help out in these difficult times. And the sign will make a big difference in helping us to communicate that to the community.
Thank you. I'll open it up to any of the planning commission members now. Yes, Pat?
Yeah, I guess I have a question, and maybe it's more for the sign manufacturer. This is like slightly larger than the ordinance allows, and I'm just wondering why they couldn't design a sign within that. So is it that the LED, it's like a blank and you have to build around it? Because it's not that much more than what the ordinance permits.
This is
mean,
the sign
maybe our-
company?
Maybe our limitation is out of date for some reason? Just was curious.
Hello?
Yes, you can go ahead. Can you just state your name and address for the record?
This is Deborah J. Bodell. I'm with Glass City Signs and Radiant Signs. And I was informed that, reading the ordinance, that we were allowed to be 6 foot in height and 8 foot wide. And with a 2 foot base, stone base. It's also only a 3x8 full color LED that's only 24 square feet, double sided, with a 1.5 feet by 8 foot header sign, which would have their name on it. Very, very tasteful. And again, I'm willing to do, if it has to be a little bit shorter, we're willing to do that. And as far as where the sign was placed, that's another issue that we would like to talk to you about.
Well, I didn't have an issue with the size addition that you're requesting. I was just wondering, I mean, it's kind of out in the open and probably be fairly noticeable. But why, I mean, why couldn't you have had this designed within the dimensions in the ordinance? Is there a reason why?
What is the measurements that we're allowed?
32 square feet, 5 foot high.
Okay, we can do 5 foot high. No problem. And the you're counting the 24 square foot for the LEDs plus the header?
Well, I think the ordinance states for the whole sign, whether it's an LED or a painted sign. Is that correct? Karen?
Yes. You're muted,
Karen,
Karen.
you're muted.
The overall height is 5 feet. That does include the base and the header. So the overall height. The signage area can be up to 32 square feet. And so the calculation for the square footage of the sign is does not include the base. I do know that this sign now has a base of 1 foot in height. The previous did not have a base, so I don't know if that's increasing the height, but it is an overall height of 5 feet, 32 square feet. Height.
Okay, that's not a problem. We can shorten the header, the name of the place, down to 1 foot. We can keep the base at 1 foot.
This person
And
is saying
sign,
something different.
the EMC part could be 3 foot by 8 foot. So that would be a total of 5 foot.
That's case. We just need an approval for the LED message.
So, yes, Nancy, sorry.
Okay, Karen, I'm a little confused. How come they didn't know what the permitted thing was in the beginning? Because it sounds like she said they could meet all the permitted requirements, and now they had to pay to come here, and they could have.
Well, they still would have had to come because it does require to come before the planning commission. And I know that we have been working back and forth with them and conveyed what is permitted. I don't know if someone picked up the overall height as a commercial use, but for residential zoning districts, regardless of the use, the overall height can be no more than 5 feet and 32 square feet. Area.
So then, Miss Bodell, are you saying that you will design it based on the current ordinance and be able to meet within the ordinance requirements?
Yes, no problem.
Okay.
Now you said the square footage is only 32.
32 square feet total of signage area, yes.
no possible way we could do 36 and still stay within the 5 foot?
Well, you are here for a waiver, so if that's what you're seeking, then we want to consider it this evening, yes.
Okay, so Ms. Bodell, you're asking us to consider the 36, but you can meet the 5 foot height.
Yes.
Okay,
And we're only to discuss the length of a message of the LED sign, correct? Nothing more. They can have an LED sign to just, right?
Well, we have to grant a waiver to allow an LED sign. Our ordinance does not permit it at this time. We're considering it to be included in the ordinance as a use, but we do want to regulate the message change so not to create a distraction and flashing and scrolling and things of that nature.
Go ahead, Joe. You're on.
That is not a problem.
Go ahead, Joe. You're on mute.
I don't have a problem if they can fit it inside there, and I would just like it to be consistent with what we did with the other people. At night it's dimmed and the message board only goes so long, and kind of what we did for everybody else, but
Yeah, that's no problem.
Karen, what was our time interval for the other? Was it 3 or was it 5 seconds?
I believe it's 5 seconds.
Yes, sir. Did I address what? For the sign?
Well, this is not the public hearing.
yeah, we're already into making a decision on the sign thing. We can go to that one after we make this decision, I say.
Yes.
There's about 7, 8. There's people.
How do we know which one is for the signs?
7, 8.
Karen, you're muted.
I believe we had 3 that said they were here to speak on the sign, on this particular sign, and we have spoken to 2 of them. So.
I would have to,
Well, we may be.
if anyone's listening right now, if you're here for the public comment for the end, please wait until the end so we can conduct the meeting. Otherwise, we're going to be here for a very long time trying to figure out where the calls are coming for.
And I believe that there were, it's another person on for the sign. Oops, I'm sorry, Matt. I believe the other one for the sign is maybe from the for the Food Town sign. There were 3 people. I believe the other one may be for the Food Town sign.
I will take some advice on what we should be doing here because I'm at a loss right now.
Are you ready to take a motion for the sign for the Resurrection Polish Church?
Yes.
Okay. Could you ask that person to mute?
Can
Could you
someone
ask that?
please mute your TV?
You'll get burned if you put that.
Could you ask that person on the phone to mute their TV or whatever? Okay, I'll make the motion to approve the waiver for the 36. What? 36 foot square foot sign. They indicated they would meet the 5 foot height, so there's no variance for that. And that that the timing of and to approve the LED sign usage and the timing would be 5 seconds. Can that all go together in one motion, Karen? Okay.
Second.
can I add something to that? They dim it for at night too, Nancy?
Yes. Dim it at night too.
Second.
What time would you like it done?
What time, Joe, to dim it?
I guess I would go by time of year it is, to be honest, maybe.
Dusk.
Dusk.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay,
Thank you.
not a problem. We'll set it up that way.
Do we need it to be also including the all permits obtained through the township and they maintain a perimeter as well?
Yes, I'll do that too. I'm pretty easy tonight.
All right, I have a motion, and I believe Pat Mahoney, of those, you were second, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, my connection says I have a poor quality, so I apologize if I look like I'm lost here. Mr. Garvick, will you take the roll?
You're muted, Joe.
Unmuted?
There you go.
Okay, keeps going back to it. Ron Fritz,
Yes.
Brad Helm,
Yes.
Dennis Jenkins,
Yes.
Matthew Anger,
Yes.
Joe Garbage, yes. Nancy Tinberry,
Yes.
Pat Mahoney,
Yes.
we got them all.
Is that everyone? Sorry.
Yeah.
Motion carried.
May I ask one question?
All right.
Matt, she had a question.
Next, we will.
Matt, she had a question.
How close to the
Go ahead.
How close to the road can we be?
Karen, do you know the answer to that? Is it?
You have to stay out of the road right of way. I thought that it was being proposed in the same location.
Okay, we can do that. I was just checking to see if we could go any closer. There is a ditch there, and we were hoping to be about 2 feet off of that ditch if it's possible. But, I mean, that's just a question.
The road right of way on Temperance Road is 66 feet. A minimum of 33 feet from the center of the road is the road right of way. If you're going to relocate it, we will want to have a drawing showing the distance from the center of the road and make sure you're out of the road right of way.
I believe the 66 foot is right where the sign is now. So
Okay.
we'll just leave it alone then.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Yes.
this is Marty Camprath. I'd like to see resume the public comment that was kind of suspended. You ought to be receiving public comments for any item on the agenda or non-items on the agenda, except for anything with respect to the public hearing, and then they, of course, can speak at the public hearing. So any of these sign questions or anything that's not on the agenda, that's open to public hearing. And you do not have to take public comment with respect to each sign item. Of course, you want to talk to the applicant and the sign person like you did. So I'd kind of like you to clear the slate on the public comments, item number 6, before you go on, if you could.
I'm going to have to move closer to my internet connection because I am losing most of what you guys are saying.
Marty?
Yes.
Marty, do you have a suggestion on how they would filter all the calls, not knowing what any of them are regarding?
Not a magical suggestion. I mean, you can ask them, and if they're calling to speak on the Ag 2 zoning district change, that they, if they could hold off until we open the public hearing for that. But anything else should be open to public comment. And I guess you'll just have to ask them, or you're going to have to listen to them talk twice. It's not easy virtually.
Thank you.
That was Christopher Cremain, chair of the Resurrection Parish Committee. Can I go ahead?
Yes, we suspended the public comment for some reason to go on to item 7A, thinking that most of them were part of that. You really got to take all the public comments, whether they want to talk.
I apologize, guys. My internet is acting up. I'm only getting a quarter of what anyone's saying.
Can we have Dennis, the vice chairman, go on, or?
I'm okay with that since it's impossible for me to run a meeting that I can only partially hear.
Are you passing the gavel?
If Dennis is willing. Although I might have internet connection now, it seems to be okay.
Dennis is muted, I think.
On purpose.
All right, so I know I heard part of what Marty was saying. We need to go back to the public comment at any point. So do we just go through the phone calls right now then?
You may as well, just to take care of it.
Okay. George, could you?
Well, I was beginning to, but then you know.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. So thank you. My name is Chris Cremeen. I am chair of the Resurrection Parish Committee. Obviously, we would like to see this approved. I heard in that discussion the right-of-way question about 33 feet from center, and then somebody made the comment of 66 feet. That's the total, correct? From the center, from both sides?
66 feet, excuse me. 66 feet is the total right-of-way on Temperance Road. 33 feet from the center of the road would be that half on the south side.
Right. So that would be the minimum as far as closeness to the right-of-way would be the 33 feet from center, correct?
Correct. You have to be out of the road right-of-way, located out of the road.
Okay. So if we're, if we can move it, and you said if we can have it with, the specifications changed, as long as it's within, or at least 33 feet from center.
Correct. What we would like to see submitted with the permit application would be a plot plan showing the right-of-way location and where the sign is going to be located.
Okay. And I'll leave that up to our sign company, who's, I believe, on the call also. So again,
no problem.
That's the end of my comments. Obviously, we would like to see this approved. Thank you.
Is there someone with the last four digits of 45920 online still? Thank you. Is there someone with the last four digits of 4705 on the line?
That's me. Is this the time to comment on the
Yes.
rezoning?
No.
Not for the rezoning, no.
Okay, that's what I'm waiting for.
Okay.
Can you call back?
Pardon?
What's the best way, George, to...
I
If
was
you could
told
just-
that before. And
We are not to item 7C on the agenda yet.
well, then hit me up when you get there, okay?
Yes, last
Yes,
word
my
is, yes. Are you,
Uh,
what are you
Go
calling
ahead.
for tonight?
Okay, my name is Jerry Rosinski. I live at 3505 School Road, Temperance. I have no questions. You guys pretty much answered. I've been listening and answered my questions. I'm a parishioner of Resurrection as well.
Oh,
But so far so good. Thank you.
thank you.
That was me. I already made my comments.
Thank you. I don't believe so.
I'm here. Excuse me, 5920 is here. I'm waiting for the Ag 2 discussion.
Okay, we're not to that yet. We have two more, another item before you. If you could call back when we get to.
I understand that. Thank you.
Thank you. How are we, George? All right, thank you. All right, next we will move on to item 7B, a request for a sign waiver for Jabro Properties LLC, Michigan LLC Food Town on parcel number 5802-490-03100, otherwise known as 8926 Lewis Avenue, Temperance, Michigan. Karen, can you give me some background, please?
Yes, again, this application is for Food Town on Lewis Avenue, Radiant Sign. Detroit, Michigan is also the sign company for this application. The applicant is seeking to replace the existing wall sign located on the site with the Temperance Village unit is located within the Temperance Village Overlay District with one sign up to 40 square feet in area permitted. On January 28th, 2004, a sign waiver was sought and a motion granted to permit a 128 square foot wall sign for proper identification on the south side of the structure. An insert replacement on the existing pole sign shall be permitted and shall trigger a 7-year grace period on the non-conforming pole sign. However, the planning department has searched records and found no sign permit submittal or signed 7-year contract for either change of sign at that time, thus due to an insert change on the existing non-conforming pole sign and the requirement of the, as a requirement of the motion, a sign required. At this time, the applicant is seeking to install 2 wall signs. One wall sign on the south side of the structure, 74.79 square feet in area. That is less than what was previously approved, and thus requiring a 34.79 square foot area sign waiver, which will be moved to the east and replace the existing wall sign. It's going to be on the same wall, but it's going to be moved farther east on that wall. The applicant is also seeking a waiver to allow a second wall sign, 74.79 square feet in area, on the west side of the structure on Lewis Avenue, thus requiring a waiver to allow a second wall sign and a 74.79 square foot area waiver. At this time, there is no submittal for change in the existing non-conforming pole sign. Again, that insert has been changed, but we have no record of a permit for that or the 7-year grace period to bring that into compliance. Should this request be considered, the following waivers are required. A 34.79 square foot area waiver for a wall sign, permit a second wall sign, and a 74.79 square foot area waiver for the second wall sign. Also, the following should be included in any motion to approve. All required permits shall be obtained from Bedford Township.
Thank you, Karen. Do we have a representative for Food Town?
Yes, this is Radiant Sign, Glass City Signs too. We're trying to get the second sign on the west side of the building, which be actually the front area where Lewis Avenue runs. It's 34 inches by 202 inches. It will be a channel letter sign with a very nice bullet sign as well. That's all included in the square footage.
Thank you. I had a question, Karen. I thought if you were on a corner lot, you were permitted 2 signs. Is that?
You are permitted 2 signs.
Because there is a road that's.
I suppose they could utilize the south side as opposed to the north side for their sign.
Oh, so it has to be on that roadside, not just 2 in general.
Typically it is, but I think the ordinance does permit 2 wall signs, and at any rate, if that's the case, even if they would, we would still need the 34.79 square foot area variance for that second wall sign, because both of those are nearly 35 feet over what's permitted by ordinance, which is 40 square feet. So if you want to consider that they're going to have their second wall sign on the south side as opposed to on the north side where the street is located, that would be permitted. However, we would still have to grant the area variance, and we should consider something with the pole sign since it wasn't addressed 7 years ago when it was changed.
Thank you. Nancy, you're on mute too.
I got a question. Am I on mute?
I'll get you next, Joe.
Okay. Thank you.
You're getting me?
Yes, Nancy, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Okay, so my question is to Karen. This waiver that was granted in 2004, are these the same owners that were that applicant as well?
I believe it was, yes.
And so that applicant failed to get a permit and put up the sign anyway?
They were granted the waiver. We could not locate any issued permit or assigned 7-year grace period for the pole sign to have its insert changed at that time. The insert has since been changed for what is being proposed at this time, and we think we should at least address the fact that the sign is to be brought down into compliance, and it's been more than 7 years since the last sign waiver was granted to allow that. So
that's exactly my point. I mean, they're coming back and asking for something that they failed to. I mean, you said you can't locate it. Is that our failure? Did we file it wrong, or is that their failure? They never did get the permit.
There is no indication in the building permit program that a permit was ever pulled for that. It was installed. And actually it was replaced from a sign that was there, already located there. So whether a permit was pulled, there is no indication in the building permit program that any permit was ever pulled. The waiver was granted, but no permit was pulled.
So they did have the waiver.
Joe Garvick is next, and I'll get you Pat Mahoney. I can't see everyone's screen, so if someone's raising their hand, just let me know. I see Nancy, Pat, and Karen.
Am I unmuted?
Yes.
Yes.
So Karen, I guess they went through the proper steps and it was approved, but so they didn't just sneak it in there. They're approved. They just didn't pull the permit, if I'm understanding it correct.
That's correct. The permit was never pulled. We did include the minutes back from January of 2004, and the motion is to grant the wall sign waiver of 128 square feet, which is now being reduced in size due to the fact that the signage is needed for proper identification and the revitalization of the downtown Temperance area. The insert replacement on the existing pole sign shall be permitted and shall trigger the 7-year grace period on the non-conforming pole sign. So the verbal request to replace the second pole sign, which has been removed, shall be deferred to a later date when specific information can be provided. So they were granted permission to put up the larger sign. They were granted a waiver to change the insert and then to trigger the 7-year grace period. There is the grace period has since expired, and the sign has not been brought down into compliance. And we have no document of a notarized signature on that.
Okay, thank you.
Karen or Matt?
Yes, Mr. Fritz?
Matt?
Yes, go ahead.
Next?
You can go next. I'll get Pat next.
Karen? To Matt, to Karen?
Yes.
What we're looking at is a new proposed sign on the south side and the west side, correct?
That is correct. They were granted permission on the south side for the much larger sign. Background on the Exhibit A. The pole sign has been changed to the new logo with the apple. The sign that you see in the background is the old sign that is going to be removed. The sign that is on Exhibit B. They moved it farther east on that south wall and not right on the corner, more over the entrance rather than at the corner of the structure. And then go ahead.
No, that was somebody else. That was somebody else, Karen. I'm still listening.
Oh, okay. And then the second sign they're seeking to put on the west wall that's facing Lewis Avenue. So they did receive their waiver for the sign on the south. They received a waiver for the insert on the pole sign. No permit was pulled and no sign 7-year grace period was signed. Now they're coming in to change the sign and to install the second sign on the west side of the structure.
Well, looking at when I drove by and looked at it, and looking at the two proposed new signs that would be there, they're over our limit, but you've got that overhang there. Plus, it's elongated. I don't think it looks bad.
Well, and our ordinance does permit signs to be considered larger, so it is proportionate with the structure itself. So we do have that in our ordinance. So planning commission so desires.
I know Pat had a question next. I want to get to Pat.
I have a question and a proposal, a broader view of this. I think we should really change the verbiage in this waiver from 7 years flat out to 7 years or prior to sale of property, whichever comes first. And the second thing is, I was wondering why 7 years? Was that just an arbitrary number somebody picked up? Is it to help somebody with the financial hardship of bringing a sign into compliance? Why not 5? Why not 3?
The original reason was because then if there is a sign, by the time 7 years goes around, that sign's value isn't such a big loss, is from what I understand.
In speaking with sign companies, that's a depreciation time frame that they gave approximately 7 years before when they're considering to replace their signs. So we were looking for a number of years where they could get the max out of the sign, and it wouldn't possibly put strains on someone that's moving into a new location and having to put signage change if they were only changing the insert. So that's why it was the 7 years.
How about this idea of putting in prior to sale or 7 years, whichever comes first, into our waiver deal?
And I'm not opposed to that. I just want to say that, first of all, that that can be considered when we discuss the sign. I think it's worth discussing this, but I do want to comment on it. The situation the planning department has is that we are not notified when properties go up for sale, when tenants are relocating in an existing structure, for us to address that. Typically, we find out after a new tenant has moved in or after the building has been sold, and then they're coming in to seek to get a new sign for their structure. So if we can get where we know in advance, so we can make sure it's sold, we find out after the fact that it's been sold or it's been leased.
Can't you put a lien on the property so when they do a title search, they find it?
I'd have to defer to our attorney for that.
Bill?
Marty's
This is Marty. That is the purpose of the signed acknowledgement that it could be recorded with the property, and therefore the new owner would be put on notice of the existence of that obligation. It is not really a lien. A lien would be relative to some kind of owing of money, but it is a notice that could be recorded at the Register of Deeds and flow with the property.
Is it expensive to do that?
$30.
So pretty significant. Yes, Nancy.
Pat, great suggestion. I wish you would have come up with that many years ago. I'm all in favor of that. I appreciate your comments, Ron. However, we're the planning commission and we can't make decisions on how it looks. It might look wonderful, but in my opinion, this is an applicant who has failed in the past on numerous points. They failed to meet the 7 years, and the fact that this is the same applicant makes me even more righteous in this regard. They failed to pay for a permit, and to me, at least it used to be that if you failed to pay for a permit, you pay double when you finally come in to get it. But that's not the point. The point is that they got a variance and then they just arbitrarily ignored what the ordinance says. And so I just think that at this point, the 7 years was 2011, and here we are 2020. 9 years even after that. And so my thinking is they've been getting along with it the way they have. I think that they either need to bring it into compliance rather than getting another variance, or leave it as is, because there's no way to except I think they should be made to pay double for the sign. I just don't understand how you get a variance and then you walk away and you don't do what it was required of you.
Yes, Joe.
Well, and can I say something? What I was saying was that, and it's in our bylaws that we can, that building's long, and proportionally, that doesn't look bad. It doesn't look, and we can do something about what it looks like. If it looks bad, if it's not in conforming, but that doesn't look bad. And that's one thing that I thought we was there for, was to decide if the building's huge, we can go, it's huge, but only the height is the problem. So that's it.
Yes, Joe.
I guess I agree with Ron. I mean, that's why people pay their money to come here and see if, and we need to look at the situation and see if the building, if it doesn't affect any neighbors and it doesn't look out of proportion, I don't have a problem. And then I guess back to the other part is, we as a township goofed up, there was a 7-year limit, but nothing was signed. So I'm not sure, I don't think that's Karen's or anybody's fault there, but it's just, once they come, I don't know if that's our enforcement people go out and look and say, hey, there's a new sign, or I don't think they were trying to cheat anybody. They came in front of the whole process. Maybe they didn't know, they thought they won it, and we got the okay and go, so I'm not so sure they're, I think nothing bad about them. If they would have just went up and not come to the township and changed their sign, I got more of a problem with that than, maybe not knowing, and I can't answer that or think for them, but they went through all the beginning steps, and I've been a big opponent that you got to let these guys make money if it's not hurting anybody, and if we want to make it, if we have the right to make it a little bit bigger. I do have a problem if it's blocking a neighbor, if it's, that's NG no good, but that's my 2 cents.
To that same extent, I think that part of allowing the planning commission to have variance allowances is to see, is it going to look worse if we don't allow it? And sometimes if you put a small sign on something, it might actually make the building look worse. So that's what we have to determine if that is the case. Yes, Nancy?
Just a final comment. We have ordinances for a reason. If the planning commission doesn't like the ordinance, then we need to change the ordinance. And we don't give variances. I mean, we let them, make changes and give waivers, but it's the BZA that gives the variances, my understanding. So my point is, if we don't like it, then we need to change it to what we do like, because there's no point in having rules if we don't have a board that enforces the rules. And so you need to change the ordinance. That's just my comment.
May I comment?
Sure.
I'm the sign company.
Yes.
I don't think Sam would have a problem paying double for the permit that whoever forgot to do it. So we could probably take care of that. I don't know who the sign company was that did that, but we could probably take care of that. And also, as far as the 7-year, we could probably sign that as well. I don't think Sam would have a problem pulling that down to whatever your height restriction is. I think Sam's on the phone with us, so he might be able to answer that.
Joe, go ahead.
I guess I disagree with Nancy. We shouldn't even have this meeting if we're going to just not be able to change and do it per circumstance. I know there's a set of rules. If that's the case, then we just all say we're wasting the people's money and time, and we've changed these before. So I disagree with that wholeheartedly.
Sam, did you want to?
We are following our bylaws. We are following our bylaws. It gives us that option that it's okay. They give us that latitude.
Go ahead, Karen.
I was just wondering if there's anyone in queue that, so we could see if Sam is on, waiting to speak for Food Town. He is the owner. So I don't, George can see if there's anybody that's waiting. Okay.
Thank you, George.
Can I ask one question, Matt?
Yes.
Matt, are we not deciding on what was put in front of us tonight? And is the high sign in front of us as a sign waiver? Or is it just the addition of the two?
So, Karen, did we decide if we need to get the second one waiver or if it's just the size?
I think as long as it's not a corner. He's talking about the pylon sign. I'm going to answer both of those. I think they would be permitted to have the second sign, the one that would normally serve on the north side on the street front can serve on the south. It's just that they cannot come in then and seek one for the north side of the structure because they've elected to place it on the south side. As far as the pylon sign, we just wanted to make sure you were aware that insert has again been changed to what is being proposed this evening for the wall signs. So that's why we thought we should address it, because that insert, while it's not part of this waiver, I don't know if the sign company can speak on Sam's behalf or not, that they would agree to possibly bring that down into compliance. But it's something I think we should address only because the insert has been changed to match what is being proposed this evening for the wall signs.
I would have to talk to him and see if I can get approval for him to pull that down. But would you be willing to give them 7 years from now? Because I'm speaking out of turn for him, but I would think that he would still want to do this just to keep his, to get the other two signs or the other signs.
Or maybe a shorter time period than 7 years.
Maybe Marty wants to speak on if we can address that at this meeting and make it a request, or how we want to handle that since it wasn't part of the application. To bring the pylon sign down, do you offer a grace period? Do you ask them to do it now since they changed the insert, or how?
I think I believe the grace period has expired. They were given a 7-year grace period to pull the sign down from when they were given approval in early 2000s. So I think it's more of an ordinance enforcement matter now that the sign remains as a pole sign. If the applicant feels that to bring that down to monument size consistent with the ordinance, and that would help them get their approval of the two wall signs and the waiver on the sizes of those, I guess that's up to them, and it'd be nice to hear from them.
What is the height restriction there?
4 feet in height in a village overlay district.
Oh, geez, that's very small. Very, very short.
That is correct. It is. It's in a village overlay district. And when we look at the sign, we looked at the entire village overlay. Some sites don't have the capability of having larger signs within that site. Food Town is different in that it probably could allow something larger because of the room that they have available. Many of those sites down there do not have the room to offer anything larger. So, but it is 4 feet in height, 40 square feet, I believe.
Oh, that's pretty short. I feel that if you did it that short, that would restrict, you would have people hitting the sign in the parking lot because it's in the parking lot. And also, the vision from the cars going down Lewis Avenue would also be, it would block their vision as well. But that's up to you guys. You know, that was just my thoughts on it.
Whenever you do come in for a variance for a sign like that, those things are taken into consideration as well. We obviously don't want to create a safety issue. For instance, on the corner lots, you wouldn't be able to have a monument sign to block the view of, like by the gas station type of thing. So that is something we do take into consideration.
Okay.
So as far as the pylon sign, that's something ordinance needs to talk about enforcement, and then if they want to deal with that, and then come get a waiver to do something different at that, and then so tonight we're doing the wall signs. Is that what we have decided?
I don't know if you can see Joe or not, but he does have a question.
Joe, go ahead.
I got a question for Marty. you know, when they do these signs and the people agree, then they sign it. Is that a legal document? They have to do it within 7 years, but this one was never signed. I'm thinking out loud.
It's an acknowledgement. It's not an agreement. The ordinance is what controls. They're just acknowledging that they are aware of the ordinance requirements. So with or without this signed agreement does not, I guess, eliminate the ordinance requirement. It's just the purpose of the acknowledgement is so they can't say that they didn't know that 7 years, 6 years prior, or what have you. And it's a lot easier to pass on to a new owner when you have a written acknowledgement. And it flows with the property, and so even if there is a new owner, the new owner is responsible and it doesn't trigger another 7 years.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
So my question still stands. What is it that we are doing tonight then? Is it just what we have in front of us, the 2 signs with a size waiver?
I would say yes. If you're asking the members, I say yes.
Marty, is that what we're?
Yes, I think you're limited to what the applicant has asked for. And I would say that's it. The monument sign is not part of this request. It maybe has brought some light onto the situation because that's in violation. If that violation affects your decision on these other matters, well, that's a concern.
I'm not sure. Dennis Jenkins' little hand icon showed up. Do you have a question?
No, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Oh, okay.
You ready?
Yes. Oh, wait, one more thing, Pat, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm wondering, should we table this and maybe bring it back, but they should have a plan what they're going to do with this pylon sign that's out of compliance?
That's not what the motion's for, is it though? That's what they didn't.
We can
bringing that
table.
up.
There hasn't been a motion. There hasn't been a motion, but I'm just wondering if we should table this until we get some kind of commitment what they're going to do with the out of compliance pylon sign.
I don't think we should tie it in. That, my opinion, it's nothing to do with it. We're bringing that up. It's not what the applicants asked for.
It's addressing an outstanding out of compliance situation.
It's not what we're here to vote on.
And also, it came from our side. Compliance with it, but we've never done no enforcement.
I think, Marty said it, and we need to go with what is permitted in front of us. The pylon sign is something that is an ordinance issue and an enforcement issue. And then if they want to go further with getting a waiver for that, that would be a completely separate process. I'm not sure how the enforcement is done, if it's fines or whatever, but right now, I think we have to go with what's in front of us. Would you agree with that, Marty?
I concur with that analysis.
Thank you. All right. If there's no comment, I will entertain a motion. Dennis?
Thank you. I'm prepared to make a motion to grant a 34.79 square foot area waiver for a wall sign. Permit a second wall sign. Well, actually, we don't have to do that. And then a 74.79 square foot waiver for a second wall sign. And that all permits shall be obtained from Bedford Township.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a support?
Support.
Mr. Fritz supports. Mr. Garvick, can you take the roll, please?
Brad Helm?
Yes.
Pat Mahoney?
Yes.
Nancy Tinneberry?
No.
Ron Fritz,
Yes.
Dennis Jenkins,
Yes.
Matt Engel.
Yes. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Matt, that adds something else. I've known Sam for a long time, and he's always been an honest person. It's probably just an oversight on his part. I will personally go down there tomorrow and talk to him about the sign. I mean, he hasn't been operating. That's fine.
I would also like to be there.
That's fine.
Can you give me a call when you're heading down there so I can talk to him as well?
As long as you can get there in 5 minutes.
Well, I'm about 10 minutes out, but
Okay.
what time would you be there?
I can't tell you right now. I'll just call.
All righty. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. All right, next on the agenda tonight is 7C, which is a open to the public hearing regarding the proposed language change for a zoning text amendment to rezone from AG to AG2 zoning district regarding the agricultural zoning district to bring the zoning ordinance into compliance with the 2015 adopted master plan zoning designation with the submitted exhibit A map. At this time, I will open the public hearing. I did want to make a comment, though, for the planning commission members. We will allow all the people to make their public comment. We're going to allow 5 minutes max for each person. I believe, Jody, we're going to have a timer for that because this could involve a lot of people, and for time reasons, we're going to be strict with that. And we will not have any comments until the public hearing is closed, and then we can discuss it. So at this time, I am opening the public hearing, and we can start with the phone call. Oh, actually, yes. Do you want to do the background first, Karen, or do we just do the public hearing?
I can do a little background on it. I think most people understand. I know the planning commission, we've discussed this ordinance amendment several times, and the information much everyone that is within the district in but at any rate, on September 9th, 2020, we took this before the planning commission, and we were given direction from the planning commission for the planning department to go ahead, get the language put in format for consideration, and to schedule the public hearing. And so we did that, and that's what we're doing this evening. I just want to briefly say that what we included in your packet, we had 20 contacts at that time. We have had 9 more since that time that you received the information in your packet had. Between the visits to the township and the call, the total was 29. We did receive 2 letters of support, and we have received 2 more letters of opposition. So we now have 4 letters of opposition to the request. We have if you would like to see them. Most of them came in emails. So we didn't forward those that we had after the fact because you did have everything prior to that. I don't know if you want me to go over the reason why the transition buffer period between the higher density area to the south, which would be south of Consier, is suburban residential, which is a higher density zoning district. And again, the master plan does not dictate the zoning. The master plan provides a vision for future land use. So when the master plan was adopted in 2015, we are attempting to bring this ordinance to fruition, and the rezoning to provide that buffer that was the vision in 2015 and was adopted. This district does go north to Samaria Road. In one section, it does actually go to the west to Jackman Road, but the more north you get, it scoots over more toward Douglas Road and west of the tank farm on Samaria Road. There are no changes with this district to the uses that are permitted in the agricultural zoning district. There are some uses such as ponds and horses that do require a minimum of 5 acres. Currently, ag requires a minimum of 330 feet of frontage and 5 acres. If someone elects to, and I do want to add that we sent out 755 notices, approximately 120 may qualify for any land division, depending on where the home and utilities, accessory buildings are placed on the site, because they would still have to meet the minimum setbacks and be able to get all utilities on the site. So even though you have that frontage, if they've elected to have a pond, or they would continue to like to have horses, or if they've put their structure in the center and can't meet the setbacks, without a variance, they could not qualify. Any parcel that is created would require 165 feet of frontage and a minimum of 2.5 acres, which means a developer, I know we had many questions, I'm going to kind of just go over a little bit on the questions we had. Many people think that changing this to Ag 2 is going to reduce acreage requirement to such that developments such as what you would find in residential zoning districts is what is intended. That is not the case. I'm not saying that it will never happen or it cannot happen, but at any rate, the density cannot be less than 165 feet of frontage and 2.5 acres. So that is what we have. A road would have to be installed, and they still would have to meet that minimum density. So most of it, that's what most of it was about. Some of them wanted to know who and how this came to discussion. It was not any one person. It was not a developer. It was a vision at the time when the master plan was being considered. We used to have an allowance in the agricultural district that was called ag estates. It became problematic for the township, but those that were involved liked the idea of providing a more rural type setting, but maybe not the need for 5 acres. Much of this area right now, as I said, we sent out 755 notices, and only approximately 120 could even qualify. So much of this area is already denser than what the 2.5 acres and 165 feet of frontage results in. So I don't know if we have any further questions when they come up for public hearing. I don't know if you have any questions, but I know we've discussed this quite often. So if we just want to move on with the public hearing, we can.
I think we'll move on to the public hearing, and then if we have any questions after we hear their comments, I know Jody was going to keep a record so that we can address the comments at the end.
And I will keep record of the comment, the period, 5 minutes.
Just give me a double hand wave jumping up and down. That's the way I know.
Okay.
All right. Yes, George. Okay. Welcome to the Planning Commission. You are next. You can go ahead with your public comment. Hello?
Hi, is this, okay, that's me. Thank you. My name is Michelle Parrish. Michelle with 2 L's, Parrish, P is in Peter, A-R-R-I-S-H. I live at 2252 West Temperance Road.
Thank you.
I wanted to say that my husband and I are both in opposition to doubling the density on this area of Temperance Road. We live in openings. We preferred this 5 acres. That's why we bought this almost 20 years ago. And I really hate for the property next to me, which is 15 acres between us, that would be at a potential maybe adding 6 houses there. It would really change the dynamics of the place where we live, the landscape of where we live, and even the environment and the community feeling that we have also. I think that's all. I just wanted to really let you know that myself and some of my neighbors are really in opposition to this this endeavor coming up. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If your last four digits is 4705, you are on. And can you just state your name and address for the record?
Hi, this is Mike Brancho, 10080 Secor. I'm opposed to this completely. Moved here 40 years ago to live out in the country. I don't want any more houses out in this area. I don't understand the reason for the change, why it can't be left as is. I think everything's been going fine the way it is. So I'd like to know what the advantage is to rezoning. And I know a lot of people get variances on things, so you're saying there's 120 that qualify, but I see that we give a lot of variances for different things, so it could be a lot of variances going on too. And I think it'd be nice to know to show the 120 properties that do qualify, show that on a map so everybody knows where the 120 properties are that qualify to split their land up. But I'm very opposed to this because I moved out here to be in the country, not with a lot of people living around me. So that's all.
Thank you, Mike. If your last four digits are 6486, you're with the Planning Commission.
This is James Martin on 8804 Secor Road, Lambertville.
Mr. Martin, could you please turn your TV down and then you can go ahead and speak?
Yeah, that's a computer, yeah. Just wanted to let you guys know I'm also opposed and my neighbors seem to feel the same way. This proposal that you have, is that already in play? Because I had somebody outside my house earlier today already measuring water lines for where they would be installed. So is this something that's already going on, or is this something that we can oppose against?
This is just public comment, and it's not anything that's been finalized at all. This is the beginning of the stages.
Okay, well, my family's been here since 1962 and moved out here for the rural area. And now, with the traffic we already have with the housing that's been put in lately, I wait 5 to 10 minutes to pull out on the Secor Road, back out on the Secor Road without getting hit. So just wanted to put my 2 cents in there that we don't need any more housing in the area if at all possible.
Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Thank you much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. If your last four digits are 1455, you are on next. If you could just state your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Edward Brady, and I live at 3580 Samaria Road. And I also wanted to add my comment in that this is just not what I was hoping for living in this area. I think it would totally change the flavor of the northern end of Bedford here. And it's, I think it'd be detrimental to the entire township to change it. I guess that's the nut of it. That's the meat of it. This is not what we really want to be. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ed. If your last four digits are 1242, you are next in the Planning Commission. If you could just state your name and address for the record.
Cheryl Brooker.
And you can go ahead whenever you're ready.
Yes, we live at 9345 Secor Road. I'm so sorry. And we are Cheryl Brooker.
Turn down our TV.
Can you turn your TV or device that's in the background off? We're getting feedback.
Okay. Okay, now I can't hear you.
We're not talking. It's your time to talk.
Oh, okay. We are in agreement with splitting the property. We live off of Secor Road. We have no problem pulling out of our property. And that's all I had to say. I think 2.5 acres is sufficient, and 165-foot frontage, you're still getting a nice piece of property.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, if your last four digits are 5577 from the Planning Commission, if you could state your name and address for the record.
Douglas Brown, 10483 Secor Road, Temperance.
Thank you. You can go ahead and make your comment, you bunch. You can go ahead.
Feedback.
Douglas, can you turn your TV off in the background so we don't get the feedback?
Yep. Thank you. My name is Doug Brown. I reside at 10483 Secor Road, Temperance. I don't see the need to make these changes to the ordinance right now. I think you're going to upset too many landowners in the area, and I don't see the benefit to this township by making these changes at this time or ever. I think you have enough callers from residents today that should probably prompt you to let this change in zoning go by the wayside. That is all.
Thank you, Douglas. Okay. If your last four digits are 7965, you're on the Planning Commission. Can you please state your name and address for the record?
I certainly will. My name is Gail Kane, and I live at 1056 West Temperance. And I'm certain that some of the listeners tonight are wondering why I would call when I live in downtown Temperance. My husband lived here his entire life, and I have sat back and watched this community literally be ravaged by growth. We've had a trustee in the past who spoke about being stagnant and wanting to see rooftops from hither to thither. And now we're doing all of this growth with our business district. This is what happens. I've done my best. I have complained and have gone from one meeting to the next, voicing my opinions as to how we should try to preserve what is or was at one time a rural community. We're not that anymore. We have been raped. We have been decimated with excessive growth. The minute Proposal A was passed, the people who had been in office previously back in the 90s had already made a designation for a lot of properties so that they were ready for this influx of people from across the state line. And once that happened, we saw the complaints. You people drive too slow. How come there's only 2 lanes? I only have one store that I can pick from to do groceries. What is wrong with you people? And hence, we got what is over there at Stearns and Secor. There currently is an attempt to bring that same type of format to the other side of town. And we all sat back and had to watch the board agreed to put water under the tracks. So that water is now under the tracks, and everybody knew that that was one way of keeping things on the lowdown. They said that water was going to go to Samaria. Folks, Erie Road is to the wrong side. So the water still has to get to the other side of Samaria. And I went up and talked to the girls there in planning. And folks, I cannot emphasize enough how much you need to get involved in your township. If you can't get the answers, you file the FOIA. That's what they're there for. It's not a detriment. Only if somebody's doing something wrong and if they're doing it underhanded. I have done research. I've gone to township meetings. I've stood before you all and said things and was called out as a liar. I went and spoke with Karen, and it's hard to understand. And Karen, you weren't real clear with your talking. It wasn't loud enough. But you need to emphasize to the people why sometimes we have to have a little bit of a variance. And this is supposed to be a benefit to these people that are within this area because it brings them more into compliance with what their properties are. And this is supposed to be a good thing. They are not a full ag district because most of them don't have a lot of properties. And yes, there is concerns, and yes, people can do what they can do. You'll have our trustee here that sits there tonight will tell you people have the right to do with their properties what they want to do. In another couple weeks, you're going to need to step forward and speak up for those people that want chickens and some of these other things. There's a problem with all of this, and the problem is that sometimes we don't get to control this, and people keep moving here, and people have a right to use their properties as they see fit, as long as it complies with the rules. Where I have a problem, it's the people who are going to the BZA and getting grants given to them when there is no apparent hardship, when there's going to be a profit made. It just really makes it hard. According to Karen, this here will put us in compliance when we go to do our master plan here before the end of the year.
30 seconds left.
These properties have to have a variance. If their house is sitting too far back or too close to the road, they won't be able to do the splits. So there is concern. I'm not saying that there isn't, but Karen, I'm sure, can give us a real clear and a better understanding. So that's all I'm asking, and hang in there because, yeah, I don't like the growth either. All righty, bye.
Thank you, Gail. Seven 7597. Last order, yes. If you could say your name and address for the record.
Name's Chris, 2264 West Temperance.
Okay. You can go ahead, sorry.
Okay, calling in opposition of the changes. Wife and I moved here 3 years ago. I grew up in this area, bought property, 5 acres based on what we wanted. We enjoyed the rural setting of the 5 acres. And I know that there's some areas close to us that would eventually be potential areas of further development, or maybe not development, but splitting, causing more properties in this area. We chose to move where we moved based on this is what we wanted. See this kind of going away from that. Just wanted to make my voice heard. It's kind of just my opinion.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. That we have no more calls for the public hearing, I will close the public hearing at this time, and we will move on to discussion. Okay, we will. Okay, you can, if you state your name and address for the record, and then you can go ahead and speak. Hello? Yes, can you state your name and address for the record, and then
Yes.
you can go ahead and speak.
Yep, certainly. Didn't know I was on. Thanks. Jason Stark. I live at 8633 Secor Road, just north of Concierge. And just wanted to call in and add another voice of opposition. We agree with a lot of things, that were already stated. We do see the traffic. I drive, or my wife drives our son to the end of the driveway every day. And over the course of a simple, let's say 45-second bus stop, we can get 15, 20 cars built up behind the bus. We do not want to see more a dense area up here. And we believe, if we're understanding correctly, that we're one of the 120 or so properties that could split. But we're here to say that we have no intention of splitting, and we prefer that, what we see is, it's going to stay. Another thing, an important word in the letter was this transition between the ag and then the denser suburban areas down south, or the subdivisions down south. As I come north on Secor and cross Concierge, it does not bother my eyes at all. And I don't know where the need for a transition comes from. That is not yet clearly explained to me. It does not bother us at all that we go straight to ag. So, I don't know, just some views. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you. At this time, I will officially close the public hearing, and we will now discuss amongst Planning Commission. Is there anyone that would like to say anything? And Karen, just for what we're doing tonight, we're making a recommendation to the Township Board on yay or nay to go to an Ag 2, correct?
That is correct.
Thank you. I saw Nancy's hand. Go ahead.
Nancy.
You are on mute.
That's how you like to do it. As I look at the map, I listened to all the callers and their addresses. And as I look at the map, I see very few, they weren't required to give their frontage, which I didn't think was necessary either, but I see very few parcels that would be 330 feet of frontage in the ag zoning. The zoning that we adopt should match the use that we have there. Originally, when I first heard this, and the Mannequin came and spoke at the Planning Commission meeting, I was against it myself. But since then, I've talked to many farmers, and I didn't hear any farmers call in tonight, but I think we need to try and understand the perspective from the farming industry as well. And their situation is, the ones that I've spoken with, and I've spoken to many, not only in Bedford, but in Ida, they give their whole life to farming, which produces goods that we all enjoy. And they have large acreage, large farms. But when they raise their children go off to college, and rarely do they come back and want to take up the family farm. And so these farmers are concerned that they will never be able to retire, that their wealth, their livelihood is all tied up in their acreage. And if they can't divide their land, then they have no way of gaining the necessary funding they need for retirement. So I think we need to take into consideration their understanding their perspective as well. Gail mentioned the farming community, and I love to see farms. I love to drive and look at the large fields when they're being planted and when they're being harvested. But I also believe that if we go just a little bit further north, we can still see that. The people that live next to these farms, they need to try and understand too that the large acreage is not that easily sustained for on into your senior years as well. So I think that it's a good thing. And again, as I looked at the map, I think many of the, as you drive down Douglas Road, Jackman Road, even Secor Road, they are not large frontages. These people already, their property has already been divided off from some farm at some point in the past. And so I think that we need to understand that parcels of 2.5 acres, 165 feet are still large. You still can have distance from your neighbor, and I think it's a good thing.
Thank you, Nancy. Yes, Joe.
I agree with Nancy on that. It's not, and I understand people have 5 acres, 330 foot of frontage, and I think, understand this right, we're not asking to put a subdivision next to them, just half as much, and still's got some great frontage, and I don't think it's going to affect a lot of these people, and I agree with Nancy on the farming. I don't think it hurts anybody to have 2.5 acres and somebody have 5, and give the farmers a little bit of break here, because it's a tough living. They don't get rich at it.
Thank you, Joe. Is there any other questions, comments at this time?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Marty Camprath, if I may. There should be part of everybody's packet a proposed zoning ordinance amendment that I drafted, consistent with what the Planning Commission saw back in September and August, and it tried to put in all the changes and delete the deletions and replace with the new language. However, I would note that I apparently, and I discovered this earlier this evening, even though it was intended, I omitted deletion of the option for principal uses subject to special conditions, which was the ag estates option. And I do not believe that we intended to allow or provide for that option with this ag 2 zoning. So that would be one of the edits that I would put back into the document if you were studying the document that would be presented to the Township Board. And again, this of course is a recommendation. The Planning Commission can vote to recommend approval or vote to recommend denial. In any event, either of those options, it still gets handed off to the Township Board as a recommendation, along with all the public comments and other information collected by the Planning Commission and the Planning Department for consideration by the elected officials.
Thank you, Phil. Marty.
Could I ask Marty what page that's on? I don't see that.
That's the problem. It's not on the page. I omitted it.
Oh, okay. I get. Okay.
It would be section 40902, and that refers to the ag estates option, and we elected to delete that, and then we renumbered the subsequent paragraphs 903 and 904 to be 902 and 903, and I just caught that earlier this evening that, well, we renumbered things, but I forgot to put in the proper deletion.
Okay. Well, we'll consider that when you're writing your check.
Thank you.
I do have a question. This does affect me as I am in this zoning change area. Do I need to abstain from voting for this?
I do not think you do. I don't think that you will receive any direct monetary benefit from voting on this.
That's true. I'm already too small to divide anyways. that being said, I will entertain a motion for or against to recommend to the township board. Not everybody at once. Yes, Nancy.
Well, could I ask to hear from other commissioners? It's kind of hard to make a decision when you don't hear input from the other commissioners. And so I'm not sure, what, I mean, I'm hesitating to make a motion because I'm on the township board. So I'm waiting to hear what other input there is from the other commissioners.
Yes, Brad.
Yeah, I believe this is it's a good use of the land. There's a lot of people that don't need 5 acres. And if you look at the map, and a lot of it can't be done anyway, so it's already been divided up. So there's a small majority that can be done, but I believe it's a good asset. I get a lot of people that don't want that much land to take care of. So they want to break it up and, but still have a nice 2.5 acres is still a nice piece of property.
For me, Nancy, I'm on the fence about it because I do like the rural aspect of our town. I do like the large parcels, but I also am with you with the farmers where they can survive based on this change. So that's kind of why I haven't said much, is because I don't know what I think on it. Or I think I like both options. It's a tough one for me.
I don't know if you can see Pat or not, but he was asking.
Oh yes, go ahead, Pat.
Hey, I think Nancy did a good job of explaining some things to me and made the issue a little bit clearer to me. I truly believe in property rights, self-determination. It's your property. You can do with it what you want within reason. I guess one of the things I get caught up on is like the question I think Mike Brancho asked. It was he doesn't understand the reason for the change. There has to be some impetus for the change or this proposal, and I'm not clear on what that is. I think we should talk about, who benefits from this. Does the township benefit from a tax perspective, tax revenue? I'm not clear on that. I mean, going from ag to ag 2, does the revenue for the township change? What's in it for the township to do this? Karen, go ahead.
Go ahead, Karen.
I did speak with the assessor, the head assessor. There will be no different assessment rate, whether it's 2.5 acres, whether it's 5 acres, whether it's 15 acres. The only change would be is if someone decides to allow their property to be sold, split and sold, then you're creating another parcel. But as far as assessment, as far as the uses, nothing is going to change until someone makes a decision that they wish to sell their property or split their property. There will be no changes. So the benefit as far as additional taxes will not come until someone decides they want to create another parcel.
Yes, Nancy.
That's true for the acreage, but when you build a house or any structure, a barn, accessory building, a house, when that happens, then it will improve the property for that being assessed. But in terms of the acreage value, I agree.
That's true.
And I understand, farmers, I mean, it's just probably just like in every other trade, young people aren't coming up into it. So who will take over these lands and maintain them, as Brad brought up? And, and I think if you buy property so close to a city like Toledo, urban sprawl or suburban sprawl is bound to happen. So it's not within the unreasonable expectation for that to happen. So I guess I'm continuing to understand this.
Go ahead, Joe.
You know, I'm originally from Whiteford Township, and they had the 5 acres, and I had a 5-acre lot on Heddle Lake Road. And they, on this side of the express, they went to the 2.5 and smaller. And I just still think it's enough land, and it's not too much land. If you're not a farmer and you got 5 acres, you're not going to mow 5 acres most of the time. The back of my property on Heddle Lake was all weeds. And so, you know, I just think it's not taking somebody 5 acres and putting, you know, a postage stamp next to them. It's half as big, and I think it's good for the farmers. I think it protects the houses, and like you say, there's a lot of areas that can't be done. You still got to have the frontage, and that's my 2 cents.
That's a good point, Joe. I have 4 acres and I only mow 2 of it. Dennis, did you have a question?
Yeah, to answer Pat's question, back in 2014, I think it was, we were having as part of the master plan process, we have to engage in public input sessions. And one of those sessions, several of those sessions actually involved the agricultural community. And it was explained to us that farming doesn't pay the way it used to, especially now. And they wanted the option of being able to divide their property up. And we've already seen this. So I initially was on the fence on this thing, but now I tend to agree with it as long as it benefits the farmers primarily. So that's where I'm at.
Thank you, Dennis. After hearing everyone discuss it more too, I am mildly on the fence, but I am leaning more towards the approval of the Ag 2. I still like the rural feeling, but I do think that the 2.5 acres will still provide a rural feeling. Yes, Karen?
I'm just going to throw this out there. If we have a larger parcel where a portion of it, maybe even all of it, is being farmed, and someone is trying to create a smaller parcel maybe for themselves, the remainder of the parcel could still be farmed. They may want to attach it to a neighboring parcel that is being farmed. So it's not to necessarily do away with the agricultural use completely. It is to allow for smaller parcels for those that may want something smaller and may have an opportunity to still preserve some of that farmland with the neighboring properties, or still continue to farm what the remainder is. So,
and then everyone is still free to purchase those parcels if they come up for sale.
that's correct.
Yes, Dennis?
Actually, I forgot to take my hand down.
Oh. I don't know if it shows on the on YouTube or not, or the Buckeye cable, but there's a little hand that shows up, so he didn't actually forget to take his hand down.
You waiting for a motion?
I am still waiting for a motion, yes.
Well, Nancy, since you got the ball rolling, why don't you make the motion?
I muted myself so somebody else would. I don't have a problem making the motion. Just as I said, I will be addressing it at the Township Board meeting as well. So I move that we approve the Ag 2 agricultural zoning ordinance amendment, as long as Marty will add back in the deletion of the agricultural estates, or whatever he left out before, and present it to the Township Board at their next meeting. Or is their next meeting too soon?
No.
Okay, at the next meeting.
Marty, is that complete? Do do we have to amend the map? And do we have to agree with the rezoning?
Well, I believe she's suggesting to recommend approval of the proposed zoning ordinance amendment as written and presented in their package, which also includes not only a text change to the zoning ordinance, but a map change. And then it'd be nice to have some reasons and rationale to support the recommendation.
Oh, I have to come up with that too. Okay, because I believe that it benefits the ability for farmers to have better control over their land that they no longer can farm, and also that it allows the 2.5 acres for people who want acreage, but not a lot of upkeep on their property. Does that work?
And could I also suggest that it is to bring the area
Friendly amendment.
be consistent with the master plan?
Yes, that's good. Thank you for thinking of that.
Was that the amendment you wanted, Mr. Jenkins?
Yes, that was it.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have support?
Support.
Support.
All right. Mr. Garvin, can you please call the roll?
Who did the support on that?
Dennis Jenkins.
Dennis?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Fritz?
Yes.
Mr. Helm?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Anger?
Yes.
Mr. Garvix, yes. Mr. Jenkins?
Yes.
And Miss Tennevery?
Yes.
Motion carried. All right, next we'll move on to public comment. This is for anyone that would like to speak on anything, either what we talked tonight or anything else. We'll wait a few seconds. We'll let George let me know when to move on.
I've got a question, Matthew.
Yes.
Are we doing anything with the CIP planning? I know Nancy brought it up a meeting or two ago.
We haven't talked anything official. I know that we need to get it on the books, and I was actually hoping to talk with Karen about that at some point to find a time when we could, because I'm new to this, so I need to figure out what I need to do and that process. I know Nancy will definitely help me out with that. Yes, go ahead, Nancy.
Muted, Nancy.
Geez, you guys are tough. Well, we brought it up, we discussed it, everyone got a copy of it. If there are no revisions at this point in time, it only needs to be adopted. And then it's a working document like the budget or anything else. You can always go back and amend it, revise it, add to it. It's not anything that is in stone at this point, but it needs to be adopted and sent on to the township board for their consideration so that it's ready when budget time comes at the beginning of the year, because they're not going to be putting anything in the budget if they don't have an approved capital improvement plan. So I say it just needs to be put on the agenda, and the commissioners read what they had before or reread it when they get it and make their decision.
Thank you. Okay. If your last 4 digits is 7965, you are on the Planning Commission, and you could please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, it's Gail Kane, 1056 West Temperance, calling back in. The next meeting will be post the election. When do new people take over, and is this really a good time to have this happen when we've got people that are coming and going, and you know, it seems kind of harsh to do this with a change here coming and taking place at that time. And Karen, I was in and looked through things. I was not aware that there were any large farming parcels within this pink district. So if they're going to do this at the township, and I don't know how you're going to do it with the Zoom, but we really need to see where those big farms are at, because I thought that was all in the orange, and this ruling will not really impact the big farmers. You know, we have nothing left of our oak openings. Those were all destroyed with the sale of the Vaughn farm there on Temperance Road and all the other sandy hills. That's all the oak openings in the sand dune region there, Jackman and up to Samaria. And that did involve a large farmer. And some of the farmers did buy that, but I was not aware that there were any large farmers in this pink district, so to speak. So hopefully we can have a really good map at the township meeting. And again, I'm going to encourage everybody out there, we're not going to solve it on Facebook. You need to go in and talk to Karen and have her show you and explain to you. But the decisions that are made by this will be an impact on the community. So that's all I'm saying. Thank you. Have a great night. Stay safe.
Yeah. 2258, you're on the planning commission. If you could hit your name and address for the record.
Angela Bauerschmidt.
Okay, Angela, you can go ahead whenever you're ready.
Okay. I just feel like everything that the public said, you guys ignored, and you had already made up your mind when you walked into this meeting, and I agree with the last caller. What large farming parcels? They've already been done, and everybody keeps saying 2.5 acres is plenty for everybody. Well, it's not. We got 10 acres, and yes, you're right. A lot of it may be woods and weeds, as the one gentleman said, but you know what? We like that. That's a lot of space for us. We just feel like, nope, you guys are already all about everybody else. You made up your mind. And I did kind of resent that you're like, well, who needs more than 2.5 acres? Believe it or not, some of us like more than 2.5 acres. And farmers can already divide up their land at 5-acre lots. You guys just totally ignored what everybody else already said. You're all about the master plan. You don't care about us in Bedford. All you're all about is about everybody else and just about building. And yes, I know progress has to happen and it has to come, but I really do feel like you didn't listen to anybody's comments when everybody who called, a majority of them who called, were not for it at all. And just so you know, a lot of us actually do like living in more than 2.5 acres. Thank you for your time, and I really hope that you just think about what you just did to our community. Thank you, and have a good evening.
Thank you, Angela. Last four digits, 1881. You're on the planning commission. You can please state your name and address for the record. $18.81. Are you there? Is there someone with the last four digits of their phone number, 1881?
I'm here.
Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, you're on the planning commission. Can you state your name and address for the record?
Yes, Carl Smith. I live at 2632 West Erie Road. I agree a lot with what the last caller just said. It seems like the majority of the callers that called in basically do not want this thing approved. And none of you actually mentioned any of that when you went ahead and approved this. Again, no one else either talked about safety. I like riding a bicycle, but I pretty much don't. Being on Erie Road, the road is narrow. With an increase of housing on Erie Road and Jackman at 5 acres, it's bringing a lot more traffic on. And I see even joggers that jog down the road will step off the road to let traffic by. It's a huge safety factor by doubling basically the amount of homes that could be built up here. And I don't hear anybody talking about safety. I would think that would be a priority with your representation of us in the community. So I just wanted to say that, and again, voice my opposition to having this done. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl.
Hello.
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 Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, I'm Deborah Martin, 8804 Secor. And I agree. I don't believe you people took into account anything that the actual landowners that are being affected by this had to say about it. I know that only one of you people live in this area. The rest of you, I don't know where you live, but I think it was really cruel of you to go ahead and just go with the master plan when you're not actually being affected by it. I moved here a year ago from Toledo to get away from overcrowding and the smell of marijuana and everything else. And you're planning to put in more houses and it's just overcrowding. I like the look. 2.5 acres is not enough for some people. When you put a huge house and a big garage and a pole barn, there goes all the land. All you're looking at is building. I'm extremely angry with you people, and I can't wait to vote all you people out. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb. Hi, if your last four digits is 1312, can you please state your name and address for the record?
John Coberly, 9035 Secor Road, Temperance.
And you can go ahead whenever you're ready.
Well, to respond to the one lady that owns 10 acres and is complaining about this, 10 acres is plenty of land, and this isn't going to affect her at all unless she wants to split her property. And I also own 20 acres out on St. Anthony Road that is just sitting there idle because we don't farm it, and it's, most of the people that are complaining are maybe a handful of people, and they're giving you guys a bunch of grief. Out of 700 and some people, only 20 of them complained about it. So, and the only people that call in are the ones that complain. But that one lady that has 10 acres and just went crazy about it, it's not going to affect her. 10 acres is way more than, she's not going to have any more neighbors. But I just want to say that I think that you guys were right on the money, because I'm one that has a 20-acre farm that's just sitting there. So the few people that called in to complain, that I don't think they understand it, because it also brings in a lot of non-conforming parcels into compliance. So
thank you, John.
I believe you guys did the smart thing to do. And I guess that's all I got to say, is that the people just don't understand it that are complaining about it. It doesn't affect their property. They don't have to do anything with it.
Yeah, well, thank you for calling. I'm sorry, what was that, George? If your last four digits is 5920, can you please state your name and address for the record?
Yes, my name is Bill Parrish. It's 2252 West Temperance Road. And I just wanted to say I'm not a complainer, like the last person said. I'm disappointed that it was obvious that this was already decided before tonight. When I hear comments, we've talked to the big farmers. We want to help them out. I live in an area that's not a bunch of weeds. It's huge oak openings, big walnut trees, big oak trees. And now you bring that into what my neighbor can put in 6 houses instead of 3. And what we're going to have, just like go down Jackson Road and these roads, you see these little lots, 2.5 acres with houses sitting on them, no trees left. And you people that wanted to call in, But you already had it predetermined, because I heard it right on here that you said you talk to the big farmers and you want to help them out. What about the people like us that have just a few acres and we want to keep it? 5 acres isn't a huge amount of land. Yeah, you can't farm it, but you like a little privacy. I don't want to look out my window now and see 6 houses. I want to only see 3, and that's really too many. If somebody has 20 acres and not do nothing with it, maybe they ought to sell for somebody that could utilize it. But I hate to see all these big trees cut down, a bunch of houses put in. And I look at it, too, as just a way for the county or the city to get more tax money. You get more houses, you get more money. And you didn't even want to listen to us tonight. So that's about all I got to say is, this is just typical politicians. They made up their mind. They talk to the people it's important, big farmers. Oh, I feel so sorry for them, but not us. We don't count. So that's all I have to say. Very disappointed.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Your last board digit is 1242. You're on the Planning Commission. Can you please state your name and address for the record?
Cheryl Brooker, 9345 Secor Road.
Okay, you can go ahead whenever you're ready.
I'd like to apologize for the people that are going off and speaking poorly about all you folks. Number one, we do own property. We do own 5 acres on Secor Road. I don't know if it can be split or not, but I do believe that 165-foot frontage and 2.5 acre lot is a very, very nice piece of property. And I'm just wondering if the people that are complaining, if they actually own the property that is 5 acres and can be split, or are they just complaining when it doesn't even involve them? I realize they don't want a bunch of people, but this isn't a subdivision that you people are trying to put in. I mean, this is a 2.5 acre parcel with 165-foot frontage, people. It's not a development. It's not a subdivision. And you know what? There are people that 5 acres is too much for them. And if they want 2.5 acres with 165-foot frontage, then so be it. Don't condemn them and don't punish our road commission or the planning board commission or whoever these people are. Everyone's trying to do the right thing for everyone. It's not just a handful of people. There's a bunch of people involved. So open your minds and look around and understand that you're not the only person living in Temperance or Lambertville. There are other people involved. That's all I have to say. And I appreciate every one of you tonight. This is my first time ever being on one of these Zoom meetings. And I do appreciate all your help. And I'm sorry for the inconsiderate people speaking so I'm unprofessionally. I'm just blown away how people speak to one another. Okay, thank you. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Yes.
If you could just state your name and address for the record, you were next.
Yep, thank you. Jason Stark, 8633 Secor Road. I called in earlier, but wanted to call back. I stepped away from the TV, so I haven't heard the comments of the last probably 2 or 3 minutes. But I really agree with the passion that Angela had shared. A lot of opposition came through on the phone, and I wanted the feeling of being, my voice being considered in there, and I don't know how well that's coming through. And for the farmers, and Gail King's comments, I really want to learn over the coming days, where are the big farms that need to have this split? And another view that I would share is to those, and Mr. Corbally, who has the 20 acres, going to the township and asking for a split so that it can be developed, I don't think is the only option here. Real estate is very good right now, according to what I know as a novice. If you're not happy with your land, or you want to sell your 50, you want to do something with your 50 acres, why is it not an option to put a sign in it and sell it? Sell it as ag. Somebody will buy it. Why is that not an option for those people? That's what would happen to me and my property. If I was no longer happy with my property, I would have to sell it. I would not go to the township and ask for, all these splits so I can do a different thing. But really wanted to make sure our voices were considered here. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
Yes.
Yes, you are next on the planning
Hello?
commission. Can you say your name and address for the record?
Regina Ackerman. My address is 8834 Secor Road. I actually was calling for a little bit more information because I guess you guys would be the one to know it. I was just told tonight that they were out marking off. Are you there?
Yes, we're listening. This is just a public comment. This is your time to talk to us.
Okay. That they were marking off sections for sewers out here on Secor Road today, and so what I was wondering, because you said it's not going to affect people that are smaller than like 5 acres. Well, we're going to have to, if they put, obviously they plan on putting sewer lines and water lines and things like that in, or they won't be out there marking it off. So, I mean, we're going to have to pay for that, correct?
We don't have that. I don't have any of that information. This is just the public comment for you to voice your concerns right now.
Okay. Yeah, that's my concern. You say that people that are less than 5 acres aren't, it doesn't affect them. Well, if we're going to have water lines going in front of our property and sewer lines, well, we're going to have to pay for it. So obviously,
What we're discussing tonight has nothing to do
somebody's
with
paying for
sewer
it.
lines, though. Nancy?
Well, that's why they're being marked off.
But that's not what we're
because
talking
of this
about.
change.
Nancy, you're on mute.
Muted, Nancy.
Could I just put her mind to rest that there are no plans for sewer or water lines to go down Secor Road? My understanding from having heard rumors, I will say, from county government is that the Drain Commission is doing drainage work. They call it, sewer or whatever, but there are no plans in Bedford Township to put sewer and water lines down Secor Road. So, different departments speak differently about their operation. And what I heard was that drainage is going to be done by the Drain Commission out in that section of Secor. But really, she needs to call in to the township supervisor tomorrow and find out what the supervisor's office knows about that.
Okay, I contacted Paul before I called and talked to you guys tonight, and he said he didn't know anything about it. But they're out there, just like the guy called earlier, marking it off, and that's what the guy told him it was to put in water. That was marking it off. It's all marked off down Secor. If you want to look at it, is to put in water lines.
Well, then my suggestion would be you call Tim Sergo at the Drain Commission tomorrow and ask him.
Okay, yeah, because you said call the supervisor. That's Paul, right? I talked to him. He didn't know. Nobody knows. But it's going to end up costing us. That's what I'm saying. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. With that, we will move on to number 9 on the agenda, new information. Karen, do you have anything for us?
I would just like to state that our next scheduled meeting on November 11th is going to, it has to be changed due to that being Veterans Day, and the township is closed on Veterans Day. Therefore, the planning department would like to ask the planning commission to consider having the meeting on the 18th, which is the following week, to hold 2 public hearings that evening as well. So if we could we have to publish tomorrow, send it up for publication tomorrow. So if we can get a confirmation from the planning commission that they would be willing to meet on the 18th as opposed to the 11th, it would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you. Any
Do we
staff?
have,
or
do we have
commission
anything
com-
yet?
I don't,
I'm sorry, what was that?
Karen, do we have anything for that date yet?
we do. We already have something scheduled, so if I could get
Thank you.
confirmation from the planning commission that they would be available, that would be wonderful.
Do you want that
You want
tonight?
to call for a
Just-
vote or a question? Or?
Well, you can do it now if you want to make sure we're going to have a quorum for that evening.
For the
I'm good.
for the 18th, Karen?
The 18th.
I'm good for it.
I'm good for it.
I'm good. Ron,
I'm
good?
available.
Okay,
I will have to let you know. I know
I'm
I'm on call
available.
for work, so I'm not sure.
okay. And so we're looking at Pat.
I'm good.
Okay, so we will have a quorum, so we will be meeting then on the 18th as opposed to the 11th.
Thank you,
Thank
Karen.
you. Thank you.
Is there any other staff or commission?
Not for me.
I would like to remind everyone Tuesday is election day, so get out there and vote. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move. I'll move to adjourn.
All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Meeting adjourned.